Hi everyone, my name is Aaron and welcome to my channel, Healing with Aaron. Thank you for joining me today. This video is going to be about emotional eating. That is a sensitive issue which might be triggering for some people, so please take careful consideration before you watch the rest of this video. I'm going to be talking about my own experience with emotional eating. I have to say that I'm not a therapist or a counselor, so if you need help or assistance with emotional eating, please reach out to, a licensed professional. So the definition of emotional eating is eating because of a feeling that you have inside, rather than eating for, nutrition or sustenance. So those feelings could be, good or positive feelings or emotions, or they could be bad or negative ones, or they could be neutral. And that can lead to a cycle of emotional eating. And that starts with feeling an emotion. That emotion or feeling that you're feeling leads you to eating. You end up feeling better in the short term. And then after you have been emotionally eating, you may feel guilt or shame, and then that feeling causes further emotional eating, and it ends up becoming a vicious cycle of emotional eating, or an unhealthy habit or an unhealthy coping mechanism for managing your emotions. And that's definitely something that I have experienced in the past. I opened up previously that I've suffered with, depression, anxiety, low mood, and I felt, an empty void inside, and I definitely used food as an unhealthy coping mechanism, and I definitely was emotionally eating for most of my life. So the first thing you have to understand is that there's a difference between emotional hunger, also known as head hunger, and physical hunger. Emotional hunger, it comes on suddenly and it's powerful, and you often crave specific foods like comfort food. For myself in the past, I would eat takeaway or takeout. I would eat like Chinese food, for example. And sort of the next step or stage is self-awareness of your own emotional triggers. Why are you emotionally eating? Is that because of low mood? Is that because of a situation? Is that because of people, places, or things? Have you had a stressful day and you're emotionally eating, as a reward for yourself? In my own experience, I would eat for all of those reasons. I would eat when I had low mood, to make myself feel better. I would eat when I was happy because, I felt good about myself, and, I felt like I deserved a reward. And I would also eat when I felt nothing, when I had sort of a void in me because I felt empty. So, I mentioned before that I would eat and eat and eat and eat and overeat to fill that void because I wanted to feel something. So how do you address emotional eating? It's not something that's simple and straightforward, but I can talk you through what I've done in the past. You can keep a food diary where you keep track of what it is that you're eating, and then also keep an emotions diary, where you sort of track your activities, what you've been doing across, a day or a week. Break it down. For example, I went to work. This is how I felt on an emotional score out of 10. I spent time with friends or I exercised. This is how I felt out of score out of 10. And, correlate and track that food diary with that emotions diary. And, if you suffer from emotional eating, you may see a pattern there where if you've not been feeling great emotionally, that's where you have been emotionally eating as well. So what I'm trying to say is that over time, you may see a pattern which leads to emotional eating. I think it's important to say that one of the main reasons that diets don't work, or they don't, or they fail, or they don't work in the long run, is because they don't address, underlying unhealthy emotional eating habits. And I've tried every diet in the book over the years, where you do this diet for X amount of time, a few weeks, a few months, you lose weight. And it's not sustainable in the long term because it doesn't address how you're feeling inside. So the important thing for you to do is to find other ways to fulfill yourself emotionally. Think about what makes you happy. And that's different for everybody. For myself, it's, spending time with my loved ones, it's exercising, it's, well-being activities, it's recognizing what are the things in your life that you get emotional fulfillment from, and you feel an uplift in your mood afterwards, and try and get that emotional fulfillment from those activities instead of relying on food as an unhealthy coping mechanism, which leads to emotional eating. For me, something that I get a lot of emotional fulfillment from is singing. I love music like so many people do, but I have a very personal relationship with music and with singing. Before I had weight loss surgery, and before I lost weight, it's something that I always loved, and was always able to shift my mood in a really positive way. But it's something that I never had the confidence to pursue before. But since I have lost weight, I've been having singing lessons with a vocal coach, and after every singing lesson that I have, I get this emotional release, and uplift in my mood, and I get the same adrenaline rush that I do when I exercise as well. Endorphin rush, I mean. So what I'm trying to say is find activities that emotionally fulfill you, where you don't fall into the habit of emotional eating. So what other tips can I give you? Make a plan. So for me, I do meal prep on a Sunday. I make batch meals. I plan out what I'm having for the next few days or the next week, and then I freeze foods and then I defrost them. So I have everything planned out, and I don't fall into unhealthy habits, coping mechanisms, emotional eating. And I've been in therapy for a number of years now, and my therapist always says to me, follow the plan and not the mood. So make a plan, be self-aware of your emotions and your mood and how you're feeling, and that self-awareness, with that self-awareness, you can follow the plan that you've set for yourself instead of following your emotions, which then could lead to emotional eating. And I have to say that, with doing meal prep and batch meals, I save so much money. What else? You may have setbacks. So that's normal. Go easier on yourself, but don't give up. Setbacks are a normal process to anyone who's on a journey or trying to achieve something. And it's really important to say that if you do suffer, from emotional eating, consider reaching out and speaking to a therapist or a licensed counsellor. Yeah, so follow the plan and not the mood. That's how I have dealt with emotional eating and, using food as an unhealthy coping mechanism. So thank you very much for watching this video today. Please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for any future topics that you want me to do, please leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Healing with Aaron. I've been Aaron. Take care and have a nice day.